We're starting over. I'm sorry.
That's
We're
okay.
starting over.
This is the second time I'm on a hard wire, but this is the second time this has happened
Oh
in
my
2 weeks. So
I
weird.
don't, yeah, I don't know. And I want to make sure I have the view on speaker. Okay. Okay, it is recording. Darn it, we're going to have to start over. Okay. It's Careyann Golliver, America's franchise matchmaker and founder of Franchise Logic. And we are presenting It's Never Been a Better Time to Consider Business Ownership online summit that you registered for. And today, my expert panelist I'm super excited about is Michelle Rowan. Michelle Rowan comes from an amazing background, education in franchising, and she is the president and CEO of Franchise Business Review. Now, Franchise Business Review, let me just tell all of you that are listening in, is amazing because it is a sneak peek into the cultural fit, because their mission, Michelle, right, is all about transparency. So this is giving people an opportunity. I tell people all the time, look, it has to be the right model. It has to be the right fit. It has to be available in your right geographic area. It has to make sense up to what you're looking for. But most importantly, your franchisor is your business partner every day, all the time. And y'all got to get along and share the same core values, or why bother? So Franchise Business Review, because their mission is full transparency, really allows you to have a sneak peek into the cultural fit of what that franchise brand and system and family look and feel like. So I don't want to steal your thunder, Michelle, but I mean, you're so impressive. You are the chair of the IFA, International Franchise Association Women's Franchise Committee. That's a mouthful. You're a certified franchise executive. You facilitated CEO performance groups. You're well known and loved. You and your husband and your daughter live in Maine, beautiful Maine, and you also own an independent tasting room and brewery. How amazing is that? And I'm sure 2020 was a bit challenging for that. How long have you owned that?
We just celebrated our 4th anniversary.
Excellent. Wonderful. So Michelle, for the people that are listening, let's say I'm thinking about business ownership. Now, I may be thinking about, I have a grandiose idea and I am going to get a patent, and I, am going to start my own business and take control because I'm tired of being in corporate America. And that's great. Franchising is also another option that people could consider, because not everyone has all those wonderful ideas. Not everyone has the vision, and they're like, hey, if someone has the vision and I believe in the vision and they have a proven model and I can execute it, then franchising might be an easier route for me. So why would Franchise Business Review be important for the franchise seeker?
Yeah. So I want to start to be clear, I'm president and COO. I don't want to take credit away from Eric Stites, who's our CEO and founder of the company, because he's fantastic.
Yes.
And so he was at a franchise marketing company before he started FBR, and candidates would ask him, what's the best franchise opportunity out there for me? And he said, I can tell you who spends the most money. I can tell you who is growing the fastest, but I don't know how to answer that question. And realized as he kind of started thinking about it, that most candidates want the same information before they decide if this is the right brand for me or not. So he launched Franchise Business Review as a way to aggregate those basic answers that you want to know about a franchise system. So things like, how would the existing franchise owners rate the training and support, the financial opportunity, the leadership team. So just very basic, important pieces of a brand that's looking to grow. So he said we could aggregate this data to make it easier for candidates to find out that information. We do not recommend that we replace those due diligence calls that is where you understand the most about what's happening in a brand, is talking to franchise owners. But our data is designed to give the corporate team a sense of what do the franchisees think that they're doing well, and where is there more opportunity to provide better support or tools for their franchise owners. And the flip side is here's some third party data you can share with candidates to give them a sense of what you're about early on. Because as everybody knows, and if you're thinking about investing in a business of your own or a franchise, just like every major purchase you make, you're online. You're looking for what other people are saying about the brand. You want to know that someone else had a good experience before you will spend that money on a car or a house or any kind of business. So why not make that easier for someone to understand a little bit kind of higher level? What are they about? So that you know if you want to proceed and reach out and actually connect with that team and learn a little bit more about their brand.
And what I love is, again, it's full transparency. So it's in their own words, in their
Yes.
own words, what they have experienced being a part of that franchise brand, right?
Absolutely. And what they're experiencing now. So, Careyann, you made a good point at the very beginning that you're getting into business with someone if you're in a franchise for a long time. So, just like any relationship, it's not a straight line of I'm going to get happier and happier and happier. It's, it curves and it ebbs and it flows. So, and that's natural as you grow a brand, as you change a business, those things are going to slip and peak, but it's the what does the relationship look like that's going to get you through those lower spots or celebrate with you on those higher spots. So you want to understand kind of what kind of person you are and what kind of person the brand is, what's their culture, how do they support the franchise owners, so that even if I'm not happy with what they're doing, I know that they have my best interest. I know that they will be successful in helping me grow my business and the brand grow so that I get the best return on my investment when I go to sell or hand off my business to someone else.
Exactly. Thinking about the exit before you even
Yes.
enter
Yes.
is paramount. And so when you're looking at maybe buying an independent business, you don't have this valuable, I mean, you probably have other ways to look at, Yelp and the other reputational things online about an existing mom and pop business that you're thinking about buying, but you're still kind of flying blindly. With a franchise, you can utilize myself and Michelle's business. When I work with people, I say, look, we're going to go on some blind dates, with some franchise companies, and you're going to have some courtship, and you may or may not get to the altar because this is really meant to be a profitable business marriage, right? It's got to be good for the seeker and it's got to be good for the franchisor. And so, franchise business review, Michelle, would it be fair to say that, like myself, coaching and guiding and making sure these people are doing proper validation and speaking to a good number of different types of franchisees? Because, I believe they're the barometer that tells the seeker how strong the system is. But you're also empowering the franchise buyer with all of your data.
Yeah, yeah. So just to kind of put context around what our data is. So we invite any franchise brand that has at least 10 franchisees open and operating to participate in our research at no cost. So there's no cost for anyone to get these questions answered by their franchise owner.
Right.
We don't, our awards are just based on who scores highest by those franchisees. We don't take into account who's a paid client, who's not. It's truly based on the feedback from franchise owners. And so what I say is we've seen, and Careyann, you've been in franchising as long or longer than me to understand that what franchising looked like 15 years ago is so different than what it looks like now.
Yes,
That the
yes.
franchisor used to try and control more of that information and how it got out to the candidate, and even tried to control more of the communication within the system. And now I think with the internet and the way that it's kind of opened it up, if the franchisors aren't listening to what their franchisees have to say, the franchisees are more than happy to tell everybody with their megaphone on the internet. So if it's a smart franchisor, they understand what the franchisee's perception is and they're using that. It's not the franchisee's job to drive the brand forward or to think of it as a brand. So they're not in control of what happens at the executive level. But executives, I think, of strong brands understand getting feedback from franchisees on how we're doing and how our brand plays in their market can help me make changes or help me grow this brand in a very strong way. It's much more collaborative.
Yeah.
So I think we've seen that change, and the other side is selling or buying a franchise has also changed in that if it's a strong franchise system, they don't want to sell you. They want to do exactly what you said. They want to know that we're a good fit for you and you're a good fit for us. Because if we don't go into this with eyes wide open from both sides, it's very hard to get out of a franchise agreement for both the franchisor and the franchisee. So knowing that the foundation of that relationship is there and that you're in a brand that you can work with as you grow your business is really important, because it can be very costly to both sides of that equation if it's not a good fit. So doing the homework up front to make sure that you're in a brand that resonates with you from a culture standpoint, in addition to what they do for their product and service, is so important.
It's paramount. It really is.
Yeah.
And, you cannot really validate too much, I don't feel. Now, I know that Franchise Business Review provides independent market research that people absolutely can trust. You've done what, 15 plus years of research,
Yep. Over 16.
thousands of franchise brands. I don't know, probably close to 200,000 reviews by now, I'm sure,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And you have kind of a, ranking. So talk a little bit about the ranking. Is it the top what?
200. So that's a great question, because we do get people want to know what the bottom of our list looks like. And we don't disclose that because we are very pro franchise. We're pro business when it's a solid model. So the two things that we will harp on is unit profitability and franchisee satisfaction. And if a franchisor doesn't have those two things, they shouldn't be selling. So that's kind of what we harp on as far as the research side. So we make it free and we make it confidential so that franchisors will at least ask these questions. The award side of what we do is celebrating the 200 brands that score the highest from the last year of data that we've collected. So it's just a way of celebrating those brands that do it well. We don't want to throw the lowest scoring franchisors under the bus publicly. We want them to use their data, make changes, and come back and try again.
Accountability, right?
Yeah. So that's what, and people will say, well, you should publish the low scores, but then nobody would ask the questions. They'd be too nervous that if this doesn't go well, it's going to be out there. And the idea is really just to help make sure that these brands are growing responsibly and that they're sustaining their growth. So they're focusing on their existing franchisees and not just the new one that they're trying to get in the door.
Right. Yeah. No, I think it's fantastic. I really do. And the surveys, when they come in, most franchisors are going to proudly show and use this as a sales puff piece to people that are looking to buy their business, because it shows them in full transparency again, right? So data, you can't argue data. Data is what data is, right? Now, you also help to set realistic expectations of becoming a franchisee. So talk a little bit more about that, Michelle.
Yes. So I think that the way that we look at that when you're doing your due diligence and getting into a brand, you want to come into it knowing exactly what it's going to be like running your business day to day. And so what I think is important as a franchise candidate to understand is that if you saw data that was 100% rosy across the board, you should scratch your head, because trying to grow a brand and get high scores in all these areas is difficult. So what you want to do is you want to look at the amount of people that are not happy, or if it's just one particular area, and does the franchisor have awareness of what that weakness is, and do they have an explanation of what they're doing to work on that area. So I always say, don't look at a negative review or a low score in one area as that red flag that's going to scare you off. It's there for you to ask questions to understand kind of why they're scoring low in one area or higher in another. So what I say is you want to look for that the franchisees feel supported and they're giving this constructive feedback, but how is the team using that information to get better? So I think there's that. The other is what I always tell, I have friends that have become franchisees just through the years, and this is that they'll say, what's your recommendation to a candidate when they decide to join a brand? And it is, follow the plan. You bought into this system because you wanted a process and a model that was scalable and works in any market. That's what a successful franchise system is. Don't go in and think, oh, I can tweak it here, I can do it there. Just follow the plan. And as you settle in, as you become a franchisee for many, many years, you might start seeing different ways that you want to do stuff. But I think that's getting off track. If you're entrepreneurial, there's your split right there. Don't become a franchisee. You want to make changes, you want to do your own thing. Franchising is not for you. This is, you have to follow their plan if you want to be successful in their model.
Yeah, I always say entrepreneur light, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Exactly. Are good fits. And franchising is not going to be a fit for everyone, right?
Right.
And that's
Yeah.
that's fine. So as a business owner, like what are some, I mean, how difficult, you are an independent business owner. So how difficult or what things could you possibly share, that people can utilize outside if, to really make sure that they're doing their homework? I mean,
Yeah. So I think that's a good thing to think about as if you're trying to make the decision between the two. It's very different. So if you are not a person that can follow the structure and can execute the plan, then I would say franchising is not for you. But what I will say as a business owner this past year and trying to navigate all the change, how quickly it was coming and how different the rules or the recommendations of what you should be doing were changing. I got to see it from within the franchise industry and I got to see it as an independent business owner. And the way that franchisors supported their franchisees and quickly got them the signage they needed or the safety pieces they needed to stay, they were all hands on deck to make sure that there was some kind of revenue if there was an opportunity coming in, to keep those lights on, to keep that franchisee there for whenever we came out of the pandemic. So thinking beyond just your day to day, that type of big picture look at how these franchisors really supported the brand through this was incredible compared to being an independent business owner where you're just kind of doing the best you can. So I will say, thinking about the things that you don't see every day, which is when it gets bad, what kind of support do you need to get you through that? And the other, I think the most important resource when you join a franchise system, which we don't have as a business owner, the brewing community is very collaborative. So there is a lot of sharing of information. There's a lot of support, I think, through the Brewers Association and from other business owners. But with franchising, when you join a system, you have so many other business owners that are running the exact same business as you. So you have this opportunity to network with people that have been successful before you, and more importantly, have not been successful before you. So not just knowing the best practices and the way to kind of set your business up, but where do people stumble and what could you avoid by just knowing that and talking with your network and asking questions can be so valuable because you can't get back time. So if they can help you accelerate past those bad choices or those potholes, take advantage of that. And I think that's really what I'm envious about is that franchise community. If it's a good brand, they're going to even help you share financials between each other. So you're going to know what your top people in your brand are doing and what your bottom people in what your brand are doing so that you know who to talk to about best practices or an area that they're really good in. So I think that, that's the difference that I see the most of the independent business owner versus the franchise model.
yes.
Yeah. And the financials, I think that and even if you're a person that loves numbers, having that financial structure around how you look at your numbers, understanding operating costs versus your profitability, I think franchise systems have a lot more visibility and transparency on that. That's going to help you forecast what it takes to break even or to be successful in that brand.
For sure. For sure. I mean, I work with a lot of people that are also looking at local mom and pops, and they're like, I don't know if these books are cooked. I don't know. They got 2 sets of books here. I've asked for a 3-year tax returns. I'm getting crickets. And then they start looking at a franchise, and even if it's an existing franchise location for sale, the franchisor will make sure that all that stuff, again, is in full transparency. So you know what you're getting into. Is this going to be a turnaround business? What is broken? How much is it going to cost to fix what is broken? Is it worth it? Because you're going to be paying a premium for it, right? If it's cash flowing, versus looking at a mom and pop, you really have to consider, I would say, hiring a forensic accountant, that specializes in really trying to find the potholes in the numbers just to protect yourself. And then again, you don't really know if you're seeing the true story. So, I think both ends of it because you're an independent business owner, and the pandemic is a perfect example. And you're in the franchising industry. So you can see when March happened last year, those good franchise companies pivoted in a heartbeat, and they helped brick and mortar franchisees, collaborate with the landlord, and didn't charge royalties, and did all these things to help their franchisees stay afloat during one of the most unprecedented times in probably like 100 years, right? For business owners. And you, as an independent, you made sure that you were in a cohesive, collaborative community where you could lean on each other. But it was probably still, like you said, you were pretty envious because it was probably still pretty difficult, right?
Yeah. But I was also taking what I had seen from the franchise industry into our business, or talking to my friends that had their own business to kind of help them try and navigate that, because there was so much, it wasn't misinformation. It was just no one knew what was going on, or what you had to do to change licenses to get people in your spot. So it was just, there was a lot of confusion, and I feel like franchising really shined in that they did, and it wasn't just the royalties piece of it, but they stepped up support when other people were pulling back. And it was just so focused on making sure that there weren't a lot of closures, which was the most important thing. It's the most important thing for our economy, to just get these people back up and running.
Yeah. I mean, and what I love about franchising is it can pretty much weather any storm.
Yes.
It is very, very tough industry. And it's been through a lot of challenges, and it always shines during those challenges, right? Michelle, help people that are chiming in and listening and watching, what you have to offer as a pay it forward free tool to anyone that is interested in looking at what Franchise Business Review offers if they're looking for a franchise.
Yeah. So all of the content that we have on our site is available to not a job seeker, a franchise buyer, or somebody looking at franchises. So you can come to our site. What we do is we do the full 200 is released in January every year. So there's 200 companies listed there that are at least a good place for you to start your search, because as much as we love franchising and there's so many great businesses, there's also a lot that aren't great. So helping you ask questions or understand, to Careyan's point, what kind of outsource help do you need to look at financials? What questions should you ask candidates or franchisees as a candidate to understand when you get them on the phone? How do you get a picture of what their business is like? We have all of that content is free on our site. So you can get our guides. We also do different features. So we have a top franchises for women, top franchises for under low cost investment. So there's a lot of data that's there. And then the companies, if they're choosing to share their report, if they're on the list, you can ask them directly for their report. But if they're choosing to share the report on our site, you can even get that summary report for free right there. So you can get a sense of what are they rated high in, what are they rated lower in, to help you ask questions. So everything on our site is available for free. But I think that guide is probably the best start, because it kind of starts that high level picture of thinking about financing, thinking about questions to ask the candidate, and how do you get that culture fit? How do you figure out if that brand has your same core values?
Excellent. Awesome. So we do have a digital download of the top 200 for 2021,
2021.
Okay. And so we'll be sure to provide that to anyone who wants that. And Michelle, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is a big decision. So I think, to Careyan's point, don't feel like you have to know all the answers yourself. just know the questions to ask or the resources to use to help you kind of navigate which option is best for you.
Yeah, and I really think, again, franchise business review, hands down, in the process of doing proper due diligence, as I tell everyone, the franchisees are a barometer that are going to tell you how strong the system is.
Yeah.
And but it's important to understand how to read the barometer, right?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think franchise business review really also helps that. I help my candidates, I provide them, lists of questions, not just to the franchisees, but also, to the franchisor, the corporate people.
Yeah.
So that's like really the meat and potatoes of your validation. If you do anything, it's got to be strong validation, and knowing that you found your new fit, right, as
Yeah.
business partners. So
Yeah.
all right, well, thank you again, Michelle. So great to see you. I hope
Thank you for having
you arrive
me.
soon, and have a fabulous rest of your day.
Thank you.